You're good. All right. All right, folks, well, we're at the appointed time. So welcome to the September 10th, 2025 Bar Large Meeting in the public meeting room at 2 George Street. My name is Trey Watkins. I'll be serving as the chairman this afternoon. The other board members present this afternoon are Luda Subchuk, Seton Brown, and Joel Trantham. City staff present are BD Wortham Galvin, city architect, Lawrence Courtney, our staff architect, and Brad Thomas, the staff architectural planner. Applicants have been required to submit any documents in advance of the meeting. Staff will control the slide presentation. That includes everything submitted by the applicant by the deadline in accordance with the submittal requirements. We do have some folks that understand how to do the slideshow. Just make sure you're pointed at this computer here to control it. If not, applicants simply need to ask staff to advance to the next slide during the presentation. Applicants, staff, and board members are required to give their name when speaking. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed to the City of Charleston Public Meeting Channel on YouTube, and your appearance here is your consent to be recorded. So the order of the meeting today will be as follows. First, we'll start with introduction and overview of the project by city staff to the board and for the public. Next is the applicant's presentation. There is a 10-minute time limit, or as determined by the chair, and with any questions of the applicant by the board or staff. Any and all presenters should clearly state their name for the record. Persons affiliated with the project, whether that be owners, developers, designers, consultants, etc., should speak during this portion rather than the public comment. The next section is public comment. All applications are part of a public meeting. Their written public comments were due by noon the day prior to the meeting, and any received comments have been transmitted to and considered by the board members. Written comments will not be read aloud during the meeting unless requested by a member of the board and with permission by the chair. Following public comment, as a reminder, any member of the public who wishes to be heard in person on an agenda item at this time is requested to state their name and the address for the record, and to be reminded there is a 2-minute time limit for those remarks unless extended by the chair. Applicant does not respond to the comments made during the public comment portion. Following the public comment, then we will enter into the city staff comments and recommendations. Next will be an applicant response or clarification to the public comments and city staff comments and recommendation. This response time has a 5-minute time limit, and the applicant does not have to use the applicant response period if they do not feel it is necessary. This will then be followed by our board discussion and vote. The applicant presentation is now over and public comment is closed. The applicant may clarify inaccurate information when recognized by the chair by raising a hand and waiting to be called upon. Board members will be polled by the chairperson for comments and for their vote on a motion. The chair shall reread a motion verbatim, and the board member making the motion should correct the chair if he has not reread the motion accurately. Once the motion is in proper order and seconded, each member, when voting, should respond yea in favor or nay not in favor. Results will be posted on the city website at www.charleston-sc.gov/bar. Tonight's items, we have an item that has been withdrawn or deferred. That's item B1 for 280 Meeting Street. It was deferred by the applicant. And we've received public comments for 68 Haygood Avenue, 268 and 274 Calhoun Street, and 39 Broad Street. Comments submitted for 280 Meeting Street will be included in the public comment packet when the item returns for board review. As a reminder, please turn off all your cell phones and other potentially disruptive devices. Please limit your comments to architecture only. Comments related to zoning, such as parking, traffic, and lot coverage, as well as livability department concerns, are not under the purview of this board and cannot be voiced here. All right, so we'll start with a review of the minutes from our prior board meeting of April 13th. I'm sorry, I can't read. August 13th. I was like, that's quite a while ago. August 13th, 2025. Their motion to approve those.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Brown has moved. Is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Subchuk. Mr. Trantham, how do you vote?
Yay in favor.
Mr. Brown.
Yay in favor.
Ms. Sobchak.
Yeah.
I'm also yay in favor. The minutes are approved. That takes us to item number 244 St. Philip Street.
244 St. Philip Street is new construction in the Old City District, and they are requesting final approval of a mock-up panel. Lawrence is showing us the location of the final construction, and then we're ready for the applicant presentation.
Thank you. My name is Dylan Tao with LSUP to represent our client Greystar as well as ourselves, the architects of the project. I wanted to say we appreciate the time that the board members made to come out to the site and see the mock-up panel. We're excited to be here at this point to show the progress that's been made and obviously get things going with the project. I'm not going to cover a whole lot other than I did want to point out a couple of things that we reviewed on site as far as options and wanted to suggest what we have as preferences on some of the color options just to make sure the board is aware of this. So the original color palette scheme, if you can kind of see represented in the 3D view on there, was more of a yellow base body color on the building. And we had done some studies early on to show some of the construction we know is coming with buildings 4 and with Liberty's projects to look at how they may blend into the streetscape and have offered 2 other alternate suggestions for that color. And they're represented on the mock-up out there on the left side. There was 2 kind of off-white colors. Our preference is the opaline color, which is the top left. It's marked on the mock-up out on the site. And then there was also 2 options for sealant colors around the windows. We prefer the champagne color, which we represent on the left side of the window. Again, all those are marked on the mock-up on the site, which were able to be visible out there. Outside of that, I don't have any other comments to add, other than I appreciate the time the board to see it. So, thank you.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the board?
There was a note about the head trim that was on the mock-up versus what is the head trim that's shown in the photos, the head trim that you're intending to go with?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, any other questions from the board? Hearing none, we will open it up to public comment. Any public comment? All right, seeing none, city staff comments and recommendations, please.
Sure. Staff went out for a review of the mock-up prior to the board review, and staff was also present at the board review, and we have a few items. We're also wanting to sort of clarify a little bit what Dylan already introduced, which is they wanted to study an additional color palette other than the one originally approved. Staff directed the applicant to show original and proposed color choices on the mock-up. So they're showing both at our direction. Staff concerns with color choices are making sure that the proposed color palette is different enough that neither the shutters nor the trim visually disappear if the new field color is too close in value to the other. So we just want to make sure that there's enough contrast that, you know, things aren't too in alignment, and then therefore you can't either see the trim or either see the shutters against it. Mock-up drawing notes show the railing as a composite material. While the aluminum railing is acceptable, staff suggests wood or composite instead to better fit with the neighborhood context. 2, applicant has stated that the window head profile is other than shown on the mock-up and will be revised. 3, the T-bar at the slab had a kicked out drip edge. Staff prefer a T-bar profile, which does not have the kicked out drip. 4, the preformed copings at the parapets have a kicked out drip edge. Staff prefer a profile that does not have kicked out drip. And the buckets at the end of the flashing prescribed and added by the contractor are not in the pre-approved drawings and are also not approved on the mock-up. They should not be a part of the construction of the flashings. And staff prefers the sealant on the windows to match the trim color versus the window color. And staff recommendation is for approval with board and staff conditions.
Thank you. Any response?
Yeah, I did want to clarify, if you can go back to, I think it was item, I think there's right here.
Thanks.
1. So I did want to clarify, Mr. Franklin asked this question. Sorry, number 2. That head profile is corrected on what's out there.
It is,
Yes.
okay, all right.
So what's represented on the mock-up now is have been
It is
fixed.
correct, all right,
Yes.
and we'll revise that for final meeting minutes.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, board discussion.
I I can start. I agree with a lot of staff's comments here. I had a question about the balconies, since those are gonna be obviously higher on the building and looking at it. We reviewed that on site and talked about it. It does show that the drawings, there's a trim strip that kind of finishes out the bottom of that. And can you confirm, is that to be painted to match the kind of T-bar face flashing that's in there? Okay, so it would be seamless and then blend into the top. I think that was a question that we had discussed on site whenever we were there. And so I feel comfortable with that detail being resolved, having looked at these drawings. On the different colors of the mock-ups, I actually prefer the adjusted color. I do agree with staff's comments that and we discussed this on top, it was actually the upper color that was there. It does make the shutters kind of disappear. And so I took a photo of it when we were there, and that's this. So if the shutter color did need to shift, but I think it was a kind of more sophisticated palette rather than the green and the yellow. Especially as we discussed, yellow is going to be a body color on multiple other buildings going on. So I did prefer the alternate color that we discussed there. I do think looking at the craftsmanship, and I know a lot of times as board, we have discussions about fiber cement, and if fiber cement is going to be used, I do think the additional depths of the profile and the lap siding that's being used, the depth of the cornice and the reveal elements that are in it, the size of the elements relate proportionally to the building, and it is appropriate for that and seem to be installed. So I did think that those were benefits on the building. So those were kind of my observations, and generally felt good with the mock-up that was there.
Are you good with the staff conditions as proposed as well, or?
Yes, I did think with the T-bar, yes, I would say probably staff conditions 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. So I think 2 was the one that we just addressed.
Yeah, we
here.
just addressed and omitted.
And so, yeah, I felt like all of those were beneficial conditions that should be applied.
Any other comments from the board or further discussion?
So how the condition 1 about the railing, how do we have drawn composite material for the railing and ended up with a rosy? How's that?
I mean, I think we had left composite a little bit big, not what was best for both material and durability out on the site. So as we started studying wood and other things like PVC on there, it became more it became more apparent, I think, to us that the aluminum would be better as far as structurally and also for long-term maintenance on the building. So that's why we elected to look at the aluminum. Still kept the same look, what was shown on the drawing, just a different material.
So do we approach this condition?
Well, I guess it would be the board being more specific about whether they are okay with aluminum or they want them to not have aluminum. The board can condition that as part of the motion.
I guess we didn't see composite material on the mock-up to compare.
Yeah.
So,
No, and the intent would be that it would look no different. Obviously, at that point, it's just the material difference. And like I said, for us, it was.
yeah, but it's connections and everything. That's what is aluminum is.
Yeah,
It's questionable.
correct, but I think if you see that, like, you can't see any connections out there on that, like all the connections from the pickets to the rails are not visible, much like they wouldn't be with wood. So.
The staff's perspective is the
Thank you.
intent is to match the context of the neighborhood.
Yes.
Any other thoughts? No, I'd be happy to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion for I guess with a mock-up, is it final approval with board and staff conditions 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
I guess again, condition number 1. It's like either or. So are we give them direction? Are we okay with aluminum?
Well, I think
Again,
what I
that's-
understood is that the profiles in the composite material would be similar to the aluminum. Is that correct? And that the connection points would not be expressed. And so that going with the composite material would be a similar aesthetic to what we're seeing here, just better fitting in neighborhood from what the staff said. But I guess the question that you're asking me is do we feel okay giving it a final approval without seeing that mock-up in place?
Yeah, it's aluminum, so I guess what we're saying, aluminum is okay. Is that what we're saying? It's aluminum now.
I agree. As written, we're giving them permission to use aluminum. We're suggesting they do something else, but
Yeah. So if you want them
if
to not do
you do not want
aluminum,
aluminum,
make
then,
it-
then the motion needs to be changed.
yeah.
Okay,
make
then
it-
yes, I would, sorry, in my intent with the motion, it was changing it from aluminum to match the composite that would better fit, and I agree with staff's condition in there.
All right, so, Mr. Trentham, if I would, I'll have you make or modify your motion then, as it relates to condition number 1 then.
So I would modify my condition number 1, that the handrail be composite to better relate to the neighborhood at which can be reviewed by staff.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. So the motion on the floor is for approval with board and staff conditions, including conditions 1, a modification that the aluminum railing is not acceptable and it needs to be a wood or composite material. Conditions 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, and actually, I think you have an older version. It would just be 3, 4, and 5. 6 is actually the color about comment that was moved into the, not conditions, but the previous part. I think somehow
Great.
you ended up with it, the older version.
No problem. So it'd be condition 1.
Oh, no, sorry, you're right, 6, sorry. That's the sealant.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
sorry.
All right. I think we need to restate it one more time. No problem. It's approval with board and staff conditions to include staff conditions 1. However, the aluminum railing material is not acceptable and a wood or composite is required. Numbers 3, 4, 5, and 6. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Great.
thanks, Trey.
All right, Mr. Trantham, how you doing?
Yay in favor.
Mr. Brown?
Yay in favor.
Myself, Chuck?
Yeah.
I'm also yay in favor. That passes. Thank you. All right, that takes us to item number 3, 68 Haygood Avenue.
68 Haygood Avenue is new construction in the historic corridor, and they are requesting preliminary approval to upgrade stadium seating and add additional facilities. Lawrence will show us the location. And then we will be ready for applicant presentation.
Good afternoon, I'm Paulette Myers, McMillan Casson Smith on behalf of the Citadel to talk about Johnson Haygood Stadium East Side replacement. Same site, we saw this last time. The yellow dots just show where we're going to see the views from later. Just know that our site is limited to the gray area at the east side. Just to show you the overall site plan again and remind you of our goals. Basically, we are here to remove the temporary stands that seat 1,000 and replace them with a 2,000 seat stands with more of a permanent foundation. That is the primary goal of this project, and then provide restrooms and support for those stands. And once again, it is not a new entrance. There's no circulation changes here with the plan. Here you'll see the floor plan. The previous one became in July to the BAR, and the plan has not changed. It was an efficient plan. All you'll see is a little detailing as we worked out the details there in the plan. So our goal is to get people in and out as fast as we can of those restrooms. Once again, the elevation, the top elevation is from the July meeting when we were here, and the bottom is the east elevation that we're proposing now. We had minor comments on this elevation. There were 2 main comments. One was that the filming booth was disconnected and maybe it didn't need to have the same language as the restroom building. So you'll see on the bottom, we've removed that crenellations. The other comment was define the metal panel screening, and we will get to that in a moment. So you'll see relatively little changes on that elevation except for defining that. And then on the north and south elevations, the comment from you were to screen both the north and the south. So on the left side, you will see the previous elevations, and then to the right, you'll see the proposed elevations, and you can see that screening there now below the stadium. And then this is really just a view. The comments are the same that I just went through. So you'll see a view kind of from their parking lot, a little bit closer view, and then a view, this is from the north to show how that screening works. You can see the crenellation removed in the upper left as well. It's that kind of matches now the other side of the stadium anyway. It was a simple top on the west side. And then the other comment that was heard loud and clear last time is the neighborhood, make sure we engage the neighborhood. And we had 2 meetings since then. One with the Wagner Terrace neighborhood at their association meeting. And then we had another Pacific shared meeting with all 3 on August 18th and 19th. And the rest of that was a repeat of the other neighborhood meetings we've had. And the materials, we're going to bring you materials today. We're just a traditional stucco here. I have brought a sample. It's a white, and you can see it there. It's a gray, citadel gray, but it looks very white, finished coat. You'll see at the top. And then the blues that you see below, that's really a view you never see. It's the view that's under the restroom building facing the stadium. We do have 2 different types of applications because we did have to use a few metal studs to make those framings for that blind arch. So that's why you'll see 2 different types there. And here you'll start to see the detailing of that blind arch. We did have to build that out with a little metal framing to get the recesses to work correctly. And then we have 1 light fixture on the building that we show you there. So just a little bit of that detailing and that profile. You can barely see it there on the middle of how that elevation is formed. And then these panels are traditional metal panels. They are attached to the steel structure and they are that same color. They'll be the citadel gray and they wrap around the corners there. So you'll see some detailing there. This is a stadium that we did something similar previously under the stadium, Eleanor Ryan University. So you can see how that works on that middle image, you can see it, that works, just attached to hat channels. And then I'm just going to go into those views. This is the view from Congress Street that you'll see kind of across the tennis courts. And then a view from Parkwood, kind of at that corner. Those gates will get replaced. We're going to have to do that for construction anyway. And then the view from Sumter Street, which is pretty much, I think, where you're going to get the most view of this new structure. And then just one more view, just closer in, actually from the Citadel parking lot, to show that you can see the changes that we made is really the top there, and honestly 2 trees moved around as well. And just to remind you what it looked like prior to the large scale seating demolished, what it looks like today, and then where we are and where we want to be next year. They also have a metal panel, just the color of the metal panel, if you care to see that. I brought that as well.
Yeah, if you want to hand those over to Joel and pass them around.
Thank you. Anything else for your presentation?
No,
We're good. All right. Any questions for the board while she's here?
Oh, I did have a couple of questions about the metal panels. For the metal panels facing the exterior, I was looking through the sections, just trying to figure out like how they terminate at the top and the bottom. In your kind of precedent image where I think that's page 14 for staff, that comes up and it meets, the girder, and basically ties in under. I expect there's a girder running up the stadium seating. Are you expecting to kind of tie in a similar way, or does it sit slightly outboard of those, or how do those panels kind of terminate, especially on the sloped walls at the exterior?
I believe we showed a detail in our documents, but they're probably not here. But basically it's inset a little bit below that last trim is how it works on the north and the south. And on the vertical elements, you'll see it ends and it'll have a cap trim. It'll have a cap trim, because if you notice, let me see if I can show you, this is a little different. You know, our seating is about, 6 foot in from the very top of the stadium. So they're about 6 foot in, so they'll terminate with a trim piece at the top.
Okay. And on the exterior, does it sit outboard of the structural member or does it come in under the structural member?
Are you talking on the north or
Yeah.
the east?
An
An end or a
Probably the end, the north and the south.
the north and south? At the north and south, it'll be a little inboard. Let's see if we have that.
I didn't see that.
I don't think you can see it from here. But it'll sit inboard, so it'll attach to the structure that's actually right outside of that. We can provide that detail for you. I think it's in the technical set.
If you continue on, it should be in the technical set.
Just tell me what sheet it's on.
A330.
Okay, it's an A330 if you have the full technical set.
Yeah, I was looking at A330. It looked like each one of those were the ones underneath the stand on the east side or west side. I didn't see the end detail.
There should be wall sections as well. And maybe on the subsequent sheet.
Do I have that in here?
Yeah, I mean, you should, just keep forwarding.
It'll take a while to get there.
I guess we will have microphone up too.
Did you just jinx?
Probably.
So we can review it then. Yeah.
Get an upgrade on that computer.
Go back.
Don't worry, your tax dollars are not.
I can't
Or you
zoom in.
can zoom in.
I can't zoom.
Yeah, it's got a J channel that goes up.
Oh,
It doesn't hit at a beam. There's an angle, there's a steel angle that is there from which manufacturer.
Do you see that, Joel?
Yes, yeah, I see that, but that's on the, not on the slope sides.
Oh, it would be finished the same way on the slope side.
Okay.
On the rake. You're talking about on the
It-
rake. Yeah, the same.
It
same
would
detail.
stop just below the wide flange member that supports the bleacher structure.
Okay, nice. So it's below that member.
Yes.
Okay, nice. Okay. I was trying to find out whether it was below or proud.
And we need to create that detail.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Thanks, Andrew.
Tony, there was a comment at our last meeting about the connection of the filming booth from the bathroom building. Which I hate that term, but here we'll go with it. With the bathroom building, and in the elevation, it looks like it's still disconnected overall, but in the rendering, it's considerably different and makes it look like it is. How do you square those two things?
They're two different things. I mean, they're sitting on top of the stadium and the restroom is separate. So they're just two different structures.
Right, I understand that, but how, if there's been no change from the design of it to the rendering from one meeting to another, how's one rendering showing it considerably higher and detached and the new rendering showing it right there?
I think the wording that I use is that they were separate and detached, meaning two different things. So what's different is there's no crenellation anymore. We had crenellation all along
Yes,
the
ma'am.
top, and that's what we removed.
Okay.
When I meant detached, I meant just two different styles.
Thank you.
Two different styles could be used. Did that answer your question?
No, but that's okay.
Let me try again.
No, that's all right.
Okay,
I'll roll with it.
that's the only change. We removed the crenellation because they were two different elements.
All right, any other questions from the board? All right, thank you so much. Public comment.
My name is Kevin Amberley. I live at 367 President Street. I'm the president of the Homeowners Association for Hampton Park Terrace, which is the National Register Historic District immediately across the street from both Congress and Parkwood. And Lawrence, can I ask you to flip back 2 slides to 18? So this is the view that my neighbors continue to be concerned about. I'm glad to see a lot of the improvement. I truly am. That may be a surprise, but I truly am. The concern that we have is with the screening, not the materials or the color. But this is the view that the people who live on Parkwood are going to experience every day when they step out on their porches or when they're talking in their yards or whatnot. And the idea of these gaps where you're gonna be able to see the underside of the stadium is really not terribly attractive. And the justification for the 50% coverage has kind of changed. At first, it was that the school didn't want to spend the money on the screening. And then most recently, when I asked about it, I was told that it was an artistic choice. And while I can appreciate the artistic choice being made, the visual impact from the people who live and are gonna have to look at this side of the building, unlike the Citadel, who will be using mainly the other side, is of some concern. If you wanna have like staggered panels, like one just 2 feet in and 2 feet back, whatever, great. But having the exposed underbelly of the stadium is not an attractive look. And so we would like to see that, not necessarily like a flat panel all the way across, it could have some variation, but just the oscillation or something to increase the appearance that side would be great. I know the Preservation Society at least has submitted a letter saying the same thing. That's the only concern that we continue to have about the matter.
Thank you so much. Any other public comment? All right. City staff comments and recommendations, please.
Sure, and I'll go ahead and start, but it may take a while for words to
A lot of
catch up.
slides.
Yeah, there's a lot of slides in there. The project received conceptual approval on July 9th, 2025, and most areas of board and staff concern appear to have been addressed. Although not in BIR purview, applicant has indicated a willingness to work with the neighbors to the east to provide landscaping and screening to soften the composition from this residential area. Staff conditions: 1, a high-performance coating will need to be applied to all steel components in this environment. 2, it is unclear whether the opacity desired by board and staff is being achieved by the branded windscreen below the bleachers. It's the one with the graphics. I don't really want to ask Lawrence to go all the way back, but we can if people need to. It's sort of the area of screening that's behind the bathroom building. Staff would want to work with applicant to ensure the appropriateness of the proposed material. And 3, a separate signage package will need to be submitted for all words and graphics to be placed on the bleachers and support building, as these are not considered part of any approvals or motions for this board discussion. And staff recommendation is for approval with board and staff conditions and final review by staff.
All right, thanks so much. Applicant response, if any.
I just have the one response related to Kevin's comment about the panel. I mean, we have studied doing, completely doing that. And at that meeting, we had a neighborhood meeting, and that was brought up by one applicant afterwards. Several people indicated that they did like it. We liked the rhythm. And the way we introduced those paneling on the east side was really to break up that long monotony, to have that, to have these vertical elements break up that long monotony. So it really was a design decision to do that. And I think it's important when you drive around and you see buildings, it's interesting to see their use sometimes. And even on the west stands, which is covered, you start to see glimpses of the underbelly of the stadium from both approaches. So I do think it's appropriate to see a little bit of that stadium structure, because it shows the purpose and what the building, what the structure is doing. So that's kind of my response of why we aren't shielding the whole thing underneath. That's my main thing. That was to those comments.
Thank
To
you.
the staff comments, we can work with all of those.
All right, thank you. All right, board discussion.
Well, I guess I'll go first. Anything is an upgrade from what is there now. We've met several times on this project, and I think that generally it continues to move in the right direction. I think the loss of the crenellation at the top of the press box is a loss to the entire project architecturally. But I also wasn't the one to make the comment of it being detached the last time. So the outside of that, I will share that I agree with staff comments generally, and believe that conceptually this project is on the right path.
I think one thing that we've discussed, especially with this enclosure, and it led to a lot of my questions that we were chatting about was this stadium felt grounded, and I think the addition of the panels on either side have helped to kind of set the building down, which I think is nice, and kind of hold its place. I would respectfully disagree about the element in the press box. I feel like adding the crenellations to that element and having it float in the air, disconnected, it's not even sitting on a foundation. That's panels that are half inset underneath it, just made it feel as if it wasn't contributing to the structure, but was more of a kind of Disney-esque element that was added to it. I think that the architecture of the, we can call restroom building, anchors down and kind of grows. And I felt like it was inappropriate to kind of carry that to the press box. So I am in favor of the change that has been made from that application to this application. I'm a little split on, and it goes back to my comment about it feeling grounded with the kind of west wall and whether or not the break in the panels are necessary or not. I do feel like it's best done, and I think on page 14, how the metal panels came up and integrated with the structure like we would do in any building. I mean, we would have elements that integrate to each other rather than just try to wrap a screen around something so that it feels more permanent. And I think that's kind of what we have been pushing towards. So I'd like to see that the details kind of help that to feel more permanent. I think I can see the arguments on both sides for whether or not there should be the breaks on the other side. So I think I'd like to hear other comments from the board to kind of.
I'd like to go back to 14. Is it page 14?
Yeah, page 14.
Can we see that again?
Yeah. So. Yeah.
I know it's a hike, but I appreciate it.
So looking at page
There
14,
we go.
looking at page 14, especially the upper right image, how the panels integrate right under the beam and kind of feel like they set and create a volume that's tied to the structure of the bleachers is good. And looking at this image, the long wall that runs the entire way down, I don't know that it's as successful as the kind of breaking of the panels, and I think that illustrates what you probably feel, looking at that running down. And I understand that, yes, you're seeing the bottom, but even if you run the panels the entire way down, you're still seeing the underside of the bleachers as they're, up there. And going back to my comment about, the press boxes, trying to cover that up or do it in a way that's false feels a little odd to me. And so I don't know, I'm struggling back and forth with those two to try to weigh out which side I would fall on, because I don't know, I've been batting it around looking at that image and then looking back, because I think the sense that we want is that it feels grounded, as we asked about it. And I do think the changes on the north and the south elevation do definitely help to bring it down and sit.
Yeah, I'm with you on that in terms of, I do like the changes on the north and south with the screening. I think that helps tremendously. I'm cognizant of the comments of the neighborhood as well. With how do you accomplish the screening more to help ground the structure here. So, I mean, I don't know the solution to that, but it is a little concerning.
There is a perspective too showing the fence in front of all this. And I think people will see more fence than anything else. And the fence is so monotonic right now. I don't know if we will be seeing, I mean, fence details had not been submitted yet, right?
No, that's not part of this project.
So, so getting. I just think that what is presented and what has been finally designed is going to work. So somebody will have to look at this fence because that's what will be obtrusive, I think, in the end.
Just a quick follow-up comment on the panels. I do think that those are more architectural than the potential for it to be a solid wall across the back. Additionally, I can only, working in higher ed myself, I can only imagine that athletics would want to put a full screening of some sort of branded something, and that the neighbors are not going to be happy with that either. So I think an architectural element is a better replacement than a full branding package, if that makes sense.
And if they were to desire that, that has to come back.
Go back anyway, yeah.
Right. Can you go back to 14 one more time, Lawrence? Okay. All right. Well, are we at the point where anybody's willing to make a motion, or would there be some further discussion?
I think I will move for the approval with board and staff comments, conditions, and final review by staff.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. There's a second.
I'll second it.
Mr. Crampton, how do you vote?
Yay in favor.
Brown,
Yay in favor.
Ms. Subcho,
Yeah, in favor.
also yay in favor. Motion passes. I didn't repeat, it was approval of that board and staff conditions and final review by staff. Thank you. All right,
Take a moment when we get through this work.
yeah, no problem.
It's down there.
Oh, yeah, right now, next to be.
Yeah, the right here.
Yeah, that's- All right,
It's there.
I get it.
Here we go.
All right, well, this takes us to item number 4. It's 268 and 274 Calhoun Street.
268 and 274 Calhoun Street are category 2 and 1 buildings respectively, circa 1838 and 1802 in the Old and Historic District. And they are requesting conceptual approval of exterior repairs and replacements for the 2 properties. Lawrence is going to show us the location. And then we'll be ready for the applicant presentation.
Was it me?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, there it is.
And then will be. And so
Right.
I was ready for I was waiting on the then. But so this is a site plan that shows these 2 historic buildings, which many of you are probably familiar with. It's at the corner of Ashley Avenue and Calhoun. The Anderson House is in the left of this image, so to the west, and the Sebring Amar is to the east. The Anderson House is in fact the oldest piece of property that is owned by the medical university. And so, so one of the things, and the development team is going to be in these 2 buildings and in the outbuildings of them as well. So what is happening on the Anderson is to, if you give me the next slide, do I do that?
You can do it, and if it doesn't work, then Lawrence can do it.
So the Anderson House is, has a single story porch, piazza, porch in this case, because of it being a single story. And the building is topped by a standing seam metal roof, which there's been some leaks, and so there are repairs that are in order. This set of repairs, so we're really trying to establish a benchmark in terms of the way the medical university approaches their historic buildings. It's a wood frame building over a masonry foundation, which both of them are. And they've both been deeded over time to the medical university for their use by previous owners. This one is the more recent of those that have been deeded. And the medical university actually replaced the roof of this, and the roof included a drip edge that was in fact galvanized as opposed to this tin. So it has deteriorated over time. And there is a work proposal that's been put forward that actually can replace that drip edge with lead coated copper and maintain that the historic roof, recoating it, obviously. One of the things that is needed to be addressed is the replacement of the wood trim that would be protected by that drip edge, which has deteriorated and actually has allowed for rodents and so forth, because this is a freeway into the building. And these are the types of repairs that we would like to see done, including replacement of the gutters, which are hung by straps from the existing roof, and replace those with mat bracket mounted gutters and downspouts. Still in pre-finished aluminum, and just for weather protecting. The west end of this house is under tree cover, and that's something that the medical university will need to maintain. So next slide. I can't, this is not, oh, I passed. This is the Sebring Amar. These are not drawn at the same scale. This is a larger building, but in this case, we have a flat roof and that we're replacing that has a metal coping, which will remain, which is a copper coping that has been painted. But this is, rather than a TPO, which is probably the kind of roof that you've often seen in the less expensive version, we're asking for this to be, again, a modified bitumen roof. It gives them a longer life. It's something that they have a little bit more ability to keep in repair between wholesale changes. And so that's the not anything you would see, but in the technology of this has the TPO roof has become much more common, but this is a better solution for them. The Anderson house here is the elevation. We're talking basically painting the body of the house and doing a number of repairs to the building. You have Greek Doric columns that are fluted. They do sit on plinth blocks. And then there are a fairly ornate set of details that are all federal style in their intent. The eave trim has reeds, although someone along the way has taken and replaced some of those, which may have been rotted, with a board that's just had a drill sort of run down it. So instead of the reeded trim, so we're asking that those be replaced in this case, so that there's a consistency throughout. There was a balustrade that was on top of this roof for a period of time, and the roof of this porch has been replaced. There's some old damage that we will probably not replace, but we are asking that the balustrade, or rather the railings in the porch, that we're replacing the entirety of the top rail and the bottom rail on each of those. There is a lot of paint on this building, and we're asking that be smoothed It is a good idea from a maintenance standpoint for these kinds of buildings and buildings of this age to have at the end result be at least 7 coats of paint on the building to sort of keep it from, it doesn't trap moisture as readily, and it also sort of keeps things from, it basically preserves the building better than taking things down to bare wood. The foundation, there is a lot of failing stucco. This is we've asked all of the failing stucco and any of that is cracked on either of these buildings for that matter, to be only repaired with lime-based stucco, no cement. It's more flexible. It actually is a better, especially if you've got cracking that continues to emerge in those areas. The lime-based stucco is a much more forgiving, and then painted in with mineral paints.
2 more minutes.
A 2-minute warning.
Yes, ma'am.
So a new roof portico here, and then repairs to the railings where there have been standing water where no accounting was done for the shrinkage of the grout when the installed railings have split, called spider cracking in many of those things, and we're asking for all that grouting to be redone. So we're looking at a full gamut of basically reestablishing the integrity of the building, and in this case, for instance, on the Sebring Amar, installing LED flashing in the plinth blocks, because over time those have created some issues. Some of these, or a number of these, are actually staved columns. We are replacing some columns, and we're making fairly significant repairs to columns. Here's the detail of that. High performance paints on all the metalwork would be fairly typical. And in this case, on the Sebring, there is a flat, there is, behind where the stair is installed, there is a flat lintel in an area which at some point apparently was an enclosed part of the ground floor piazza, which was opened up many, many years ago. We're asking that arch to be a new arch to be installed out of masonry, and again, using lime-based mortar only. This is a typical detail that's existing that we're dealing with on the back of a Sebring. And that's it.
Wonderful. Thank you so
Did
much.
I make that?
You're perfect. You're right on the 10-minute mark.
That's what I'm shooting for.
No, that's it. Thank you so much. Questions by the board? All right, great. Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll move into city staff comments and recommendations, please.
These are category 2 and 1 structures, which, while applicant admits have gone through a period of deferred maintenance, are slated here for significant proposed restoration work, and the work is being done in conjunction with SHPO, with applicants seeking tax credits from this. Yeah.
Well, no tax taxes,
Oh, okay.
state-owned.
Gotcha. Staff has met with the applicant and were impressed by the comprehensive research and evaluation of the structures and the sensitivity of the overall scope of work for each structure, as well as attention to details. Best practices are being employed, and it's difficult to find anything of concern in this proposed scope of work. Staff conditions: a conservator's analysis will determine stucco and mortar composition to ensure compatibility with the large amount of existing historic building fabric to remain or to be repaired. 2, it's understood that layers of paint are to be removed in places instead of removing finishes down to the base materials, and that practices involving potentially hazardous materials will be observed. And 3, once repair is underway, we know that sometimes there's surprise discoveries. And so if that changes scope or methods that you need to use, that you just stop the work, resubmit to us, have a discussion, and then we can work out the new proposal if that needs to happen. And that we recommend conceptual approval with board and staff conditions and final review by staff.
Great, thank you so much. Any response from the applicant to those?
No, that's, I mean, that is understood,
He'll stand back up
Yeah,
just so that
just-
we've got
Yes.
people watching on TV sometimes, so we'll
Okay,
make sure we
and,
capture it.
well, the Sebring Amar went through a very extensive, I suspect, wholesale removal of, and then we also know that there was some removal because it was an elastomeric coating that we removed in the 90s and replaced the stucco at the ground level. So, and then the work at the Anderson is from 1802, which kind of predates cement. So I think we'll be pretty safe in our approach. But happy to, fulfill whatever requirements you need for your records.
Great, thank you so much. All right, board discussion. Any discussion on this one?
No, I do think just it bears saying that these drawings are excellent. The details that are both the elevations, the notes, the specific images and the callouts that are there. And also, I think this application is a careful preservation for rehabilitation. I think repair is prioritized, as you've stated, and that the work that's being done is carefully delineated in all of the principles that I think we want to see. And I just want to say that it's should be something that should be a standard that we could strive to. So I do appreciate seeing drawings of this nature.
A nice compliment for sure.
We just went through fixing the Wycliffe House, which is a Category 1 building, and it is a bear to go through it all just to try to have it look the exact same as you put it back together, but watertight with no rodents. And it's a labor of love, and all the details that go into it are extremely appreciated.
Thank you for that. Any other comments? I certainly agree with that as well. Let's, we'll take a motion.
No, it kind of feels like we're giving flowers while they're drafting the breakup.
Yeah, so these are two notable buildings and important for Charleston MASC, and exemplary set of drawings to start with, to rehabilitate and renovate and repair those buildings. And that's what we were doing in school. Yeah, you have to research and and be precise. So looking forward to see it implemented.
Me too.
Thank you all. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion for conceptual approval with board and staff comments and final review by staff.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Mr. Trantham, how do you vote?
Yay in favor?
Mr. Brown?
Yeah, in favor.
Ms. Supchuk?
Yeah, in favor.
And I'm also yay in favor. Motion passes. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
That takes us to number 5, 39 Broad Street.
39 Broad Street is a Category 4 building circa 1891 in the Olden Historic District, and they are requesting conceptual approval of an exterior storefront restoration. Lawrence is going to show us the location. And now we'll be ready for applicant presentation.
Good evening. My name is Sebastian von Marshall. I'm the architect working with the owner at 39 Broad Street on the restoration of this facade. We are submitting our application for conceptual review at this time. The project team includes Bennett Preservation Engineers. John Bennett is here as well. If there are any subsequent follow-up questions about any of the engineering, again, please keeping in mind this is conceptual. We're also working with Beeville Historic Preservation and Research, who provided most of the historic background on the building that I'll be presenting today, as well as Up South Masonry, who was brought in for pre-construction services as a contractor because of their expertise using masonry. Okay, you can see the plat for the property. It extends from Broad Street all the way through to Elliott Street. Some old Sanborn maps that show the evolution of the building. Brittany's research revealed that there have been buildings on this site since the colonial period. It makes sense, this is Broad Street and high ground. Maps show a building as early as 1788. By 1889, a bank appears as the recorded owner, and then in 1895, a comprehensive renovation took place on the site. So we see the construction of the new masonry facade that we see more or less today. The brick structure was extended considerably and extended all the way to Elliott Street. One of the owners of that bank had a company, William Byrd, who was a partner of the bank, also started a separate company in 1893 called the Cumberland Buff Stone Company. We believe that company provided the stone for the facade, and I'll get into more detail on that later. Another member of the Cumberland Buff Stone Company was Robert McCarroll, who was also an architect. We think he was probably the original architect of the structure. You can see here as the footprint changes in the building. In 1888, doesn't go all the way through. By 1902, you see the footprint going all the way through, and the footprint has stayed more or less the same ever since. Some historic images with the earliest on the far left, an engraving from the early 20th century. The second image from the, from 1912, right here, you can still see the historic masonry arches, and that's what we're really here to talk about. So those arches were a feature of the major 1895 renovation when the bank owned this building. In the mid 20th century, those arches were removed. And you can see that by 1972, I think the third picture shows the steel and glass storefront, and then the last picture on the right shows the elevation today in 2025. So what we are requesting is conceptual approval to restore the masonry arches to the front of that building and to remove the metal and glass storefront. The building subsequently had a number of renovations and was owned by various businesses through the 20th century, with numerous other interior changes and outfits. Most recently is 2016, when a comprehensive renovation was completed. The current owner bought the building in 2023. Some aerial images showing the rear of the structure looking north, that's the back facing Elliott Street. Facing east, that's the elevation facing west. You can see the length of the building extending all the way through. Looking south at the front elevation facing Broad Street, and then looking west. Some street views that show the building in its immediate context. A street elevation that shows the proposed restored facade with the adjacent building. So we have now drawn back in the proposed masonry arches in that elevation, and some colored renderings that show what that restored elevation would look like with the arch back in place. Floor plan showing the scope of the work. It's limited to the front of the building facing Broad Street. You can see their fence there, and then our blow-ups that have the existing storefront, and they proposed demolition of that existing storefront. And then the proposed new floor plan, I apologize if these are a little small, but those new arches are proposed to be true load-bearing masonry that would be tied together using steel. And again, Don's here to field specific questions about that. I'm also including here a plan of the mezzanine and the second floor. The proposed changes to the elevation really have no impact on those spaces, so I'm just showing those for reference. And then the elevations here. So you can see the existing elevation, the images. The center image shows the proposed demolition, and I'm going to get some details in a second. And then on the right, it shows the restored facade. Really quickly, we have spent a considerable amount of time with BPE and with UpSouth studying the existing composition of the stone and the elevation in general. We determined that these granite capitals here, as called out, were part of the 1895 renovation and are historic. The 3 stone courses directly below were added in the mid 20th century renovation, and then the subsequent 10 courses all the way down to grade are the original 1895 stone again. You can actually see a slight discoloration and a slight difference in the texture of the stone. Furthermore, the 3 courses of stone directly above the steel lintel that was added were also part of the mid-20th century renovation. Those were not part of the original 1895 elevation. So frankly, they couldn't have been there because the arches were in that place. So what we're proposing is to source matching stone to match the original 1895 stone, as well as granite for the arches and the keystone. The doors themselves would be new custom doors. We try to match something that would be period appropriate from the 1890s with glass above and a wood panel below. And we are proposing to restore a good amount of the ironwork above. In fact, in our meeting with the city, with BD, we discussed the extent of that, and I think the city felt that more iron should be brought back, and we totally agree. So we actually feel like this drawing doesn't reflect even the full scope of how we want to restore that. But again, it's sort of conceptual. So conceptually, we want to restore some of that ironwork there. And then lastly, some very diagrammatic sections here that show the existing storefront condition. And again, call out the masonry to remain, the masonry to be removed, the lintel above to be removed, and then a section through the new storefront, wood storefront system that would house the doors, the transom, the ironwork, and then a transit rail right here that would be part of the storefront system that would probably also incorporate some structural elements in there. The next series of pages are from the engineer, so I'm actually not going to go through those, and I'm going to stop my presentation here. But again, if you have questions about those, please feel free to ask. We did share the drawings and the concept with both Historic Charleston Foundation and Preservation Society, and got overwhelming support. I think everyone's very excited about this, and we think it could be a really lovely restoration of this storefront, this building's facade on Broad Street. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions from the board?
Did you say the steel lintel will be removed?
Yes, it will. So there'll be a lot of shoring there to support the masonry to restore the load bearing masonry arches below.
So the arches are higher.
Correct. Yeah.
Would you describe this proposal as a reconstruction of the original facade or kind of a rehabilitation in the spirit of the original facade? I mean, why'd you choose on the particular approach?
The latter. There is some architectural information that we simply don't have, so calling it a reconstruction would be difficult because I think there are certain elements of the detail that we don't have access to. So it's really more of the restoration of the arches we think will be pretty close to a reconstruction. However, some liberties taken there with the doors and the infill and the ironwork, which would be a more designed to be in the spirit of 1895.
Do you have any information on whether or not the storefront doors are being put back in the same position as they were originally? I'm just curious.
We actually think they may not be. So there was some investigative work into this, and there was actually, we believe, a curtain wall that was set back behind that stone facade. So we're actually not going exactly where they were originally. No.
That's my questions. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Any other questions from the board? Great, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Any public comment? All right, city staff, comments and recommendations, please.
Sure. Applicants propose to take the facade of this category 4 building back to approximately what it was in 1912, just per photo, because that's the hard evidence we have. While not shown in current proposal, staff encourage inclusion of the vertical wrought iron work below the wrought iron grille fan in the arch, as shown in the engraving and photos of the original building, which the applicant has just mentioned. Staff conditions: 1, materials and elements are to remain or be replaced in kind with existing. Any new mortar is to match the existing, with the composition being evaluated by a conservator. And 3, the structural stabilization of the facade and immediate internal structure will be important while work is ongoing. Care is to be taken to shore assemblies as necessary to prevent damage or failure to the existing historic building fabric. And staff recommendation is for conceptual approval, board and staff conditions, and final review by staff.
All right, any response?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks so much. All right, board discussion.
glad that this building will regain its originality, so. And it seems like, again, it's one of those projects that took some research and careful evaluation, and what is proposed is, in my mind, is appropriate. So I think we need to move forward with it.
Very good.
I think the pedestrian experience going down Broad Street, whenever you meet this building in particular, it is differential to the rest of the block. So to be able to bring back what was originally there, or at least close to it, the spirit of it, if you will, is entirely appropriate. I'm glad to see the good work being done.
Yeah, I think it's a significant improvement from the existing condition. I mean, our office is on the corner of Broad and Church, and we're actually at 15 Broad, so I walk past this building almost every day, and I'm very happy to see the changes that are going. I think they're entirely appropriate. I think the reason why I asked about the kind of spirit or not, was I think both are valid ways to go forward. And I think I can understand wanting to put the doors at the street rather than recessed, if that is where they are. I think it does inform some decisions that might be made at later dates as you develop this project and move forward. And so I think some of those might be, right now, I believe the kind of muntin between the, or mullion, I guess, between the door and the transom matches the brickwork, and I would think if it's something kind of from a little bit of a different time, it might not need to match the existing. I think it could be a smaller detail, and it might let you have some ability for more of the ironwork to kind of work its way in. And so I think it could not necessarily have to match exactly the profiles of the existing if it's trying to be something that's not matching that. So I do think there's a few areas like that would be kind of my only comment looking at that, but I think that it's a refined, solution and a vast improvement from what's there.
Yeah, a lot of research. Appreciate y'all's time and looking hard at it. I'll take a motion. If anybody wants to make one.
Go for approval with boards and staff conditions and final review by staff. Is
Okay.
that so correct? Yeah.
Yep. So conceptual approval with board and staff conditions and final review by staff. Is there a second?
We're skipping preliminary.
I mean, we would be meeting not with staff, meaning skipping with you all, but with
Right,
us.
right.
Yeah.
You still good with that?
Yeah.
All right. Is there a second?
No second, Tim.
Mr. Tran seconds it. How do you vote, Mr. Tran?
Vote in favor.
Mr. Brown,
Yay in favor.
Ms. Subchuck,
Yeah, in favor.
and I'm also yay in favor. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, number 6, 40 Line Street.
40 Line Street is new construction in the Old and Historic District, and they are requesting conceptual approval of a comprehensive sign package. Lawrence is going to show us the location, and then we'll be ready for the applicant presentation.
Afternoon, Jamie Stanley with ASI Signage.
And I'm Kendall Rusticones with Lifestyle Communities.
And first of all, we want to thank the staff for their time and feedback over the past year. We truly appreciate their guidance, which has been invaluable throughout this whole process. Coming up with the sign package. Right here is a site plan showing what we're proposing for this 450,000 square foot project are 5 exterior signs. And this shows this plan right here shows each location of the signage that we're proposing. These are elevations. 2 of the signs out of the 5 are not viewable from the street. I wanted to make a point on that. We have 2 blade signs in each corner. And these are the 2 signs that are down Hagerman's Alley, where it's very blocked. You won't be able to see it from the street, but it's good wayfinding for showing the entrances for each one. This is the ones that I just looked through back.
I have just a couple more comments. Line and Low is Lifestyle Communities' entry into the Charleston market. This is our flagship project, one or the first of 3 in the Charleston market that's underway. It's also the first introduction of our 2 internal food and beverage brands. That is Morning Ritual, which is our coffee shop breakfast offering, and The Goat, which is our full service restaurant and bar. So both of those food and beverage brands will be located inside the main building. So your entry would be from Line Street through Hagerman's Alley, the pedestrian access through Hagerman's Alley, and into that western elevation of the main building. So although these are lifestyle community amenities, they're also public facing brands that are completely open to the public. They're by no means exclusive to residents or private guests of the community. So we were hoping to both have a great introduction to our brands, be able to pull people from the public roads and show them the way into the building through Hagerman's Alley, and also showcase a little bit of the fun that's associated with the LC brands. And we hope that you will feel that these signs do that. We've had several iterations of design, worked with LS3P to make sure that we got the scale as accurate as we could for the size of the building. So we welcome any comments that you have, but respectfully request your review and approval of the package.
All right, thank you so much. Questions from the board? And I guess I'll start with one. Just talk to me a little about which of the ones are eliminated or not eliminated to help me understand that.
So they're actually all of them are
Okay.
proposing to be all illuminated.
I was gonna say, maybe go back to the site plan first, just.
The site plan right here, yeah. So all 5 locations.
Gotcha.
So this is the blade sign, Line and Low right here on the corner, which is on Meeting Street. We have the canopy sign, which the LC is illuminated. The logo at the bottom, it's Line and Low, is not illuminated. Those are just dimensional letters on the canopy. And the raceway is painted to match, so it will blend perfectly into the facade. You won't see it. This right here is the other blade sign, which is the Goat, has the ball at the top. And then down Hagerman's Alley are the light box.
Gotcha.
Morning Ritual.
And
Okay.
this will actually be located underneath the canopy for that main entry on Hagerman's Alley. So we'll have the canopy, 2 sets of brick and wrought iron fencing, and then the landscaping inside of Hagerman's Alley. So we don't believe those will be visible from Line Street.
Yeah, there'll be some trees here too, so you wouldn't be able to see it.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Not hearing any of this time, so thank you. Any public comment? All right, city staff, it's about us left here, so no public comment. City staff comments or
Students,
recommendations.
maybe,
Yes,
like-
student. We always welcome y'all.
Staff met with applicant and find the submittal largely appropriate, except for the illumination and signage at the lobby building entry canopy. Staff believe the wall signs for the Goat and the Morning Ritual, and those are the locations 3 and 4 for the board, looking at their site plans, to be internal to the site and minimally visible from the public right of way and allowable if the illumination is kept to a reasonable level. Other illuminated signage will need board review. Staff conditions. Staff find the size and positioning of the LC logo and initials atop the lobby building entry canopy to not be in keeping with the general architecture of the building and canopy and should be restudied, and that's number 2 those looking at that, meaning on the site plan. Staff find the blade sign at the alley entrance off Line Street could work in this rapidly evolving part of Charleston if the illumination levels and color temperature were subdued. These measurements would have to be agreed upon, recorded, and a mechanism for the maintenance of these measurements put into place. So staff recommendation is for approval of signage 1, 3, and 4 per site plan with board and staff conditions and final review by staff, which per conditions number 2 is the one that we would like to be restudied.
Can we look at that LC logo drawing? Okay.
Yeah, go forward. There you go, this one. For us, just to clarify, it's the logo sitting atop the canopy, not the line and low inscribed kind of within it.
And do we have a facade showing that too?
That's number 2.
Yeah, that's number 2. I don't
But
believe,
I think that's as much facade we're getting.
I think there's, it's
Or the elevation, yeah.
Yeah, that's. awesome. What sheet is that?
it's page number 2, and well,
page number 2.
there's a lot of page number
There-
2s.
No, you passed it. The elevation.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
so,
There you, no, it's the next one after that, 'cause that's the other, yep, this one.
But there it is.
I guess I have a couple of questions for staff too, because the sign ordinance is one, maybe new to this board is very difficult.
Even if you were old, it would still be difficult.
Is what is proposed in keeping with the sign ordinance? Because isn't there something about only 2 types of signs, or am I missing that?
Yes, it is because of, yes, if this were, say, the previous applicant putting that amount of signage on that small amount of Broad Street, they would not be allowed, but this is over the whole block and the portions of it are actually on the backside, minimally visible. So yes, they are meeting ordinance requirements in terms of sheer number. They can have all of these signs. Yeah.
And then with your condition 2, how would that be, is that something that staff is currently doing, regulating the illuminated sign?
Well, we do it as an agreement and then it's a gentlewoman's agreement. And then if we get a complaint from somebody in the neighborhood, they will let us know and then we will go out and check if it's too bright. So we will agree to that in the permit. And then we do have one enforcement officer who is kept very busy. So chances are he may not be proactive, but we would have to be reactive if somebody made a complaint about how bright the site is. We would go out and check it and either see if it met the permit and then tell that person it meets permit. And if for some reason it didn't, then we would work with the applicant to tone down the brightness. But that will all be done through the permit approvals, is determining the light levels. And then
At night.
yes, at night. We've done that before at various
Okay.
locations. That's not something that's new to us.
My only concern, I'm comfortable with the illumination and everything. It's the use of the brand mark.
Yeah.
And the word mark. I think that everything else is incredibly effective in trying to do what you're doing. It's the wayfinding, right? So if I'm looking at, well, I guess this is page 1 of 1, so that's not helpful. But the blade sign of line and low, I mean, that's line and low, you got it there. The LC with the brand mark is not needed at the top. The same with the lobby entrance. The text of line and low is used for the wayfinding. The logo at the top is not needed. And I know that we've had discussions on this before. And I don't know how to articulate what I would want or what I think is appropriate for this phase. For that to be removed. I'll just make it as a comment.
For the logo everywhere or specifically on the blade?
Everywhere.
Yeah, because it's 2 different styles and era. The architecture, so to say, of the actual signage construction and so lettering is fine and all that until we get to the logo. And logo is the day very contemporary, and so it's kind of not working all together. Particularly when it's on the marquee
Mhm.
on the above, so.
And that, yeah, folks are going to understand the full line and low before they will LC or brand mark.
This logo's about to go in on the glass on the doors.
Mhm.
So we pretty much. Oh, what about the? Comment. Is that bulb, is that on the gold?
Yeah, those are numbers 3 and 4 on the site plan. Those are minimally visible and we believe not really in our purview, but obviously would want, since it's a comprehensive package, those to have an alignment with the ones that are in our. So really, it's numbers 1 and 2 on the site plan that are most in our purview in terms of visibility and decision. And I know they would want whatever happens at 1 and 2 to harmonize with what's happening on the back.
It is a really nice, unique signage application with the illumination and the opaque glass. That's nice.
Can we go back and see which one is location number 1, the actual sign? That's the ball.
Right down. Going too fast.
There it is.
I think that's location number 3.
Oh, is it?
That's location number 3.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the one
Location
that's
number
minimally
1
visible.
is this.
I gotcha.
Yeah. It's the one that, as Seton had pointed out before, it's
Yeah.
the one that's gonna be highly visible as the blade sign. This
Sign
one will be
type
minimally
L.
visible. So it's really the one on the canopy or marquee, and then the bigger blade sign that
Gotcha.
Seton pointed out are the 2 that are under purview for the most, but this is the comprehensive package.
Understood. Okay. I'm hearing restudy a number 2, potentially removal of the logo from the signage, certainly from the blade signs. And with those, general approval.
Blade and canopy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other, you want to discuss that any further? Or
No, I think you hit the points I think those address kind of, I was trying to figure out what elements I was struggling with, and I think you hit exactly what I was struggling with between those.
Okay, guys, come on.
Shall I ask for a motion? Try.
Do you entertain a comment from me on the?
Sure, go ahead.
Logo? Our properties are, we don't typically have the most creative naming for our properties. So for example, we are currently working in the market on LC Ingleside and LC Point Hope. So similarly, it's known as LC Line and Low. So I mean, LC is part of it, is our brand, it is our official logo. I recognize there's a lot going on with the signs, but having that corporate brand as part of the signage package is important to us if it's something that you all will consider.
Okay, thank you for that comment.
Yeah, I think about other properties downtown, like a Elon Midtown or the one of our Canyon Spring. I think that branding is inside. The branding is like Skyguard is inside. So I understand where you're coming from. I understand the struggle, but
Yeah.
when it comes to signage and wayfinding, I don't think that should really be a part of the conversation.
I'll entertain a motion if anybody's willing to make one.
I will move.
I'm not gonna attempt one.
Let me see if I can get
You're
this.
trying to figure out how to say
Yes.
it.
Like,
I got food today, so.
Right.
Yeah.
a motion to defer the restudy. Yeah, we'll go with restudy, of the use of, brand marks.
At locations one.
Yeah. Okay, at locations 1, 2, and.
Well, since 3 and 4 are minimally visible, I would
Yeah.
argue that we can only really say that for 1 and 2.
And 3 doesn't have it, right?
Yeah, but 3 and 4 are also the locations that,
Yeah,
Yeah.
1 and 2.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, period.
so I have, Mr. Chair, defer for restudy for use of brand mark at locations 1 and 2.
Okay. Do I have a second on that?
A second.
Subchuck seconds. Mr.
Right,
Grantham, how do you vote?
Yay in favor. Do we need to, well, sorry, before I vote, do we need to include staff conditions with a part of this, or does that?
Well,
With
in
the
the
deferral,
restudy.
because it's a
It's
restudy, okay,
Yeah.
just wanted
We
to
would
make sure,
only
I
need
wanted,
if it's an approval.
then yay in favor.
Ron, how do you vote?
Yay in favor.
Ms.
Yay in
Subchuck?
favor.
Also yay in favor. Motion passes for deferral. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.